Welcome to Gun Owners of America, State of the Second podcast. I'm Kailey.
And I'm John. And today we're joined by our great friend, Yehuda, the PewPewJew, one of the most amazing people I've met in my entire lifetime in the industry. Yehuda, how are you today, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. How are you guys?
Doing well. You're episode number 1 of this filming session, so we are bright and happy and excited to go. So let's go ahead and dive into this. We're going to go into our rapid fire segment. We're going to ask you 5 questions. So the first question I have for you is, what is your favorite firearms movie?
Favorite firearms movie? That's a really good one. I would have to go between 3. John Wick, of course, because it's just awesome. Probably Heat. Has some amazing gunplay in it. And one of my favorite Westerns of all time, Winchester 73.
Heat is... Nobody has said Heat yet. Or Winchester 73. Those are 3 good movies. Those are 3 really good movies.
What content platform do you most enjoy?
Probably YouTube. It's just the easiest for me. I don't do TikTok at all. But probably YouTube, Instagram, stuff like that.
What is your grail firearm to own?
MP5.
It's a good one.
If you could change one aspect of gun culture, what would you change?
I can change one aspect of gun culture. I think that people in the industry all need to check their egos. I think there's too much ego in it, and I think that it is detrimental to the gun industry as a whole. I'm not saying don't be proud of it, but I'm just saying you see too many people who are just so full of themselves, and it just shows when they're online, personalities just doing things. It's kind of a turnoff.
No,
and gun companies need to stop taking themselves so seriously.
Thank you. Yes. I will join in on that. All right. Last one. What is your favorite gun that you own?
I would have to say I have a custom Glock 19 Gen 3 from DEF CON 3, who did all the stippling work and slide cuts and all this stuff. And it's probably like my go-to handgun. And if, I got to grab one thing and run, it'll probably be that.
Looking to upgrade your everyday carry? Langdon Tactical takes factory firearms and turns them into precision-built tools you can trust.
From world-class trigger jobs to complete custom packages, every detail is built for smooth, faster, and more accurate performance.
Known for the legendary LTT Beretta 92, Langdon Tactical sets the standard in custom handguns.
Trusted by professionals and enthusiasts alike, Langdon Tactical delivers more than upgrades. It delivers precision-built confidence.
Learn more at langdontactical.com and use code LTTGOA for $100 off orders over $1,000.
Let's go ahead and dive into this. Yehuda, tell the folks who you are, how you got into this, how you got into the gun industry, all that kind of fun background stuff.
Yeah, so I got into the industry by accident. I was a gun owner, first-time gun owner, and I decided, I didn't decide. I was by my parents' house with my wife and my baby, and my younger brother found out that I had a Glock 19, and he's like, hey, man, when are we going to go shoot your Glock? And my parents had like a full-on Chernobyl meltdown. I mean, it was literally nuclear. They did not talk to me for weeks. And when they did, it was, you're irresponsible. I can't believe you would bring a gun into the home with children. And it got me thinking that if I was going to be a gun owner, obviously I have to be a responsible gun owner. So that includes not just educating myself, but I needed to educate my children to make sure that they understand gun safety. And I went online. Again, this is 2011. So I went online. The only thing really out there was the Eddie Eagle program, which is a fantastic program. The only downside to it is all it does is talk about a gun, what to do if you find a gun somewhere it's not supposed to be, when there's so much more to gun safety. So I went to the next best place for research. I went to Amazon, and I was going to buy a book about gun safety for children. And I was shocked that there was no books on the market specifically designed for children on gun safety. And I always was I was always interested in creative writing. So I was like, hey, I'm going to write my own book, just never thinking that I'd be published. Like it's been a dream of mine to be a published author because I grew up reading. My parents took away the TV when I was 5. So I didn't grow up watching TV. So I've always wanted to be a published author. I was like, okay, I'm going to write a children's book on gun safety. And it took me 5 years to get it published. No one would touch it. But when I finally got published, I was being called, a gun safety expert and being on podcasts and radio. And I'm like, I'm really not a gun safety expert. I'm just a dude who wrote a book for his kids. And the next thing I know was, accepted in the firearms industry and almost became the standard for gun safety for children now. And that's kind of how I fell into the gun industry.
I love that. I've known that about you. You came up with this brand. You've got the PewPewJew. You talked about your family. What is it like to be a Jewish gun owner and the pushback you get from some of your community? I've seen you go back and forth and seen some of your posts about some of the rabbis who've come out and said, and, been very anti-gun. What is that like to be somebody who's a voice in a community that is historically kind of anti-gun?
So interestingly, historically anti-gun since 1945, right? Before the Holocaust, for the last 2,500 years, Jews have been warriors. Look at all of the biblical warriors that came before us. We were a warrior heritage. So now when I hear rabbis and other people saying how guns are bad and Jews should not be owning guns, it kind of irks me because I've been doing this for now almost 9 years, trying to amplify the voice of Jewish gun owners, saying, hey, people with ARs don't get in cattle cars. We see the insane amounts of anti-Semitism raging across not just the world, but especially in America now. And Second Amendment is more important now than ever. And it drives me crazy. And I've butt heads with a lot of rabbis and stuff like that, saying, you guys can talk about it all you want, but I'm literally schooling these rabbis on the Bible, saying, like, you have Abraham fighting the kings, you have Jacob preparing for war, you had, the campaigns of Joshua, you have the Maccabees, you have all these warriors from Jewish heritage, but now in 2025, it's not good enough. We can't own a firearm to protect ourselves. And of course, they come up with some dumb answer because they don't have a real answer.
So as a community member, do you see more Jewish gun ownership? Do you see that your impact on the community is growing, and are we seeing that as a growing demographic in the firearm space?
Yeah, so post October 7th, there was a massive uptick in Jewish firearms owners and people purchasing and reaching out to me for training and stuff like that. And I still think that there is a lot of it going out there. The problem is that Jews tend to be very quiet about their gun ownership, right? So they'll buy a gun and then keep it quiet because Jews are a very close-knit community. So if you are a gun owner and, let's say, for example, on our Sabbath, right? There's no driving, there's no TV, there's no movies, no video games, nothing like that. So we get together with friends a lot. We walk to each other's houses and stuff like that. So a lot of Jews tend to be quiet about their gun ownership because they don't want their child to be a pariah, saying, oh, that family owns guns and, we don't want our kid going there. So a lot of them are very quiet. What I'm trying to do is trying to educate Jews, saying, not only do you have to be pro-gun, but you need to stand up for the Second Amendment and you need to be vocal about it, because we as Jews should be the loudest voice amplifying and defending the Second Amendment, yet our silence is deafening when it comes to that because we're closet gun owners or we're anti-gun. And it's something that, no, you need to, lock arms with Gun Owners of America, Firearms Policy Coalition, Second Amendment Foundation, and other gun rights organizations and say, hey, no, we want to be part of it. We want to be a piece to defend the Second Amendment.
So I want to go back to something that you kind of briefly touched on, which was the October 7th attacks in Israel. And, we saw kind of on the outside the rearming of a lot of Israeli people. You also talked about, the gun culture in the U.S. How much of that is reflective on what you all are witnessing from, now we're seeing the peace still go through, but beyond that, the struggle that was happening in Israel, and how does that translate to what is happening in the U.S. communities as far as gun ownership goes? So
one thing people don't realize is that Israel has absolutely draconian gun laws. And we're talking about on par with, California and New Jersey and Connecticut and New York and all those Illinois. They have really harsh gun laws. Pre-October 7th, you were only allowed to own one gun at a time. It had to be registered. It was only you were only allowed a handgun, and you were only allowed 50 rounds of ammo at any given time in your house. You couldn't own more than that. Post October 7th, now you can own 100 rounds of ammo at any given time in your home, but that's it. You're not allowed to own a long gun. To get a long gun now post October 7th is difficult. They give them out, but depends where. But if you're a civilian living in Jerusalem, I can't go and say, hey, I want to buy an AR-15 for home defense. You cannot do it. That is illegal. So the gun laws in Israel are very different than the gun laws in America. Now, one thing that I've noticed is that post October 7th, Jews in America weren't necessarily running to get guns, right? Because it's a completely different country, 5,000 miles away or however many miles away it is, right? It completely separate from the Jewish mentality in America. In America, Jews didn't start getting firearms until 6 months after October 7th. Maybe not 6 months, maybe 3-4 months, when you started seeing all of the pro-Hamas riots and protests in America, when you see these, hundreds of thousands of people in favor of a terrorist organization. That's when Jews in America start saying, like, okay, maybe we need to start arming ourselves because the anti-Semitism is on our doorstep now. It's not, it's not 5,000-6,000 miles away in Israel. It's here in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and now we need to step it up and arm ourselves.
If you're looking for a one-stop shop for all of the parts that you need for your current build, your next build, or to dial in your everyday carry, look no further than Primary Arms. They are a fantastic supporter of gun owners of America, and for many of us, they are the first place that we stop when we're looking to build our next gun. So check them out at Primary Arms, and you won't be disappointed.
You brought up something, and I want to touch on it. We're talking about a lot of people, not only Jews, but a lot of people across the U.S. are very, I own a gun for this reason, for protection, but I'm very closeted gun ownership. And we've seen this a lot since 2020 with all the new gun owners. A lot of them who did not want to be gun owners decided to buy a gun. And then they were like, well, I bought a gun, but I'm going to keep it quiet. I don't want my neighbors to know. I don't want my friends to know. What kind of advice could you give those people, not only outside of the Jewish community, but in the Jewish community, to go, hey, let's not make this a stigma, but make this a norm and fight for your Second Amendment rights to encourage others?
I mean, I think you just need to explain to them very simply that if you don't defend the Second Amendment, Second Amendment is more than just owning a gun. It's defending an inalienable right, of a God-given right of self-defense. And if you don't stand up for that, then what's the point of owning a gun, right? I was on a forum one time with Jera Hutchins, and I know, John, you know Jera, right?
Yeah.
So I was on a forum with her, and she just did something that blew my mind. She's sitting down. She's like, okay, there's about 200 people in the room, maybe 150, give or take. I don't know. And she's like, okay, who here, supports the Second Amendment? All the hands go up. Who here is a gun owner? All the hands go up. Who here, carries a gun? Half the hands went up. And then she goes, who here in this room right now is carrying a gun on them? And besides Jera and I, only 3 hands went up. And she just called everyone out. She's like, you guys are part of the problem. You guys say you support the Second Amendment. You guys say you're gun owners, but you're not exercising that right. So there's a reason why they come after that right. Because when people don't exercise it, it's much easier to take away. And that's the story I tell people, is that it's there for a reason. You need to use it, and you cannot be shy about it, because the minute you are, that's when they come for it.
So you've been on the educational front of the Second Amendment for 9 years, but I want to kind of go back a little bit before that. What was the catalyst for you that said, I want to purchase my first gun? And then what was the on-ramp for you? Because it sounds like that broke tradition and broke norms, at least in your household.
Well, what's interesting is I grew up, although I didn't grow up watching TV, movies were a big part. I grew up in like North Hollywood, right? Like we're talking about Universal Studios was a 7-minute drive from my house. So I grew up in the Hollywood culture, and I loved movies. I mean, I still love movies, and action movies for me, that was my jam. That for some reason I was just always interested in action movies and to shoot 'em up and the explosions and the guns. And I never thought, I was a spoiled little LA boy. I didn't care about politics. I didn't care about the Constitution. It meant nothing to me. And eventually it was probably 2008 when Obama was running. Something hit me. I'm like, oh, maybe it's I should start paying attention to this kind of stuff. And one thing led to another. My buddy took me to the range, and he was like, oh, here are all my guns. I'm like, who the hell are you? What is going on right now? Like, where did you come from? You're one of my best friends. I had no idea you owned like all these guns. And I always thought that the only people that were allowed to own guns were police officers, military, and bad guys, right? Like I didn't know civilians were allowed to own firearms, because again, I was a spoiled LA boy, didn't care about the Second Amendment. One thing led to another, and I started studying and educating myself, and I was like, holy cow, like I'm allowed to own a gun. So there was no real catalyst. It's not like I was attacked or there was no anti-Semitic attack. There was nothing. It was just like my first gun I bought, and I'm not going to say I'm ashamed to admit it, because it still is cool, but I was like, no, I want to buy a gun because it's freaking cool as hell to own one. And obviously my mind, I still think it's cool that we can own guns, but obviously my mind has shifted drastically to the more, educational and the advocacy side of the Second Amendment. But I bought my first gun in LA, and it was as simple as that.
I think there's some key points that really, I think, encourage people who are listening to this that have friends, family. Oftentimes what takes somebody from either not caring about the Second Amendment, thinking that it doesn't apply to them, or just being completely, politically agnostic, is inviting them to the range, taking them on the first experience, because we often can find ourselves as members of the Second Amendment community as kind of going through the motions that we know, always on red alert for what's happening in Congress, what's happening on our state level, or find ourselves, purchasing a gun with the mindset of self-defense, home defense, hunting, that sometimes we forget the obvious, that participating in your Second Amendment right is fundamentally fun, to go train and to, be that badass, where that you can protect yourself. But oftentimes what made us enjoy the shooting sports to begin with is just going to the range with friends and finding our community.
I couldn't have said it better. Yehuda, I've got it's a strange question for you. You grew up in North Hollywood, in the LA. Your family didn't. If you guys were more into guns before, during, there was a lot of things that were impacting people at that time when you were growing up. So you had the LA riots, you had the North Hollywood shootout. Why do you think those things didn't impact that community to arm themselves? And kind of, because it ties in with what you said, like you grew up there, guns weren't a thing. You thought police officers and were only allowed to own guns and things like that. Why do you think that impacted you, and why did you have that like kind of thought process with everything that was going around in LA while you were growing up?
Because Jews don't care about what's going on unless it directly affects them. And like, again, maybe that's not just a Jewish thing. I'm sure that's a lot of people thing, actually. So I shouldn't say just Jews, but Jews tend to, again, even with all the anti-Semitism going on in the country, I'm still fighting an uphill battle, educating and trying to convince Jews to purchase firearms and train and learn. So even more so, if you just have like, the North Hollywood shootout was 7 blocks away from my house. I mean, I remember it was Friday, February 28th. I remember getting into the car at the end of the day for school, and my mom turned on the radio, and we heard all the police chatter, and I mean, they were playing all that. And I mean, I remember that. I remember it happened Friday. That Sunday, we happened to drive by the bank, and I remember seeing all the bullet holes, and I mean, it was crazy. So even though it was 7 blocks away from my house, it didn't affect us necessarily, right? It was between the police and 2 bank robbers. That's it. So that won't wake people up, or at least it won't wake up the people in my old community to say, hey, maybe it's time that we look out for people, for ourselves, because we have to be our own, first responders. I think that's the reason, is that it's not affecting us directly. And it's same thing with the LA riots, right? The LA riots, although in certain areas of LA did directly affect people, it wasn't like it was an anti-Semitic attack. It was just like, oh, there's riots right now. Doesn't really have anything to do with us. It's just kind of spilling over, so we'll just lock our doors and be safe that way, right? So it's a mentality that I think a lot of people have. Just I think it's the wrong mentality.
Now, you also said you purchased your first gun in LA. You live in Texas now. You're in a much freer state. What was that kind of experience, as well as being a first-time gun owner in LA, buying your gun there, and then going to Texas and seeing a totally different process?
Oh, that was great. That was a lot of fun. I remember, buying my first handgun in LA. I went to the gun store and I had to fill out like a 25 question multiple choice test just to get a license to own a gun. Once you do that, you picked up the gun, you had to wait the 10 days, and then you went and picked it up. In Texas, within a few days of me moving here, I had a California compliant AR-15, and I walked into a gun store that had a gunsmith, and I walked to the gunsmith, and he says, "What can I do for you?" And I said, well, I have my AR-15 here. I just moved from California, a few days ago. He's like, "All right, let me have it." And I didn't even have to tell him to take out the bullet button. He knew exactly why I was there. And he's like, "Man, welcome to Texas. I'm not even charging you. This is my gift to you." And I'm like, "Oh, wow. So I don't need the bullet button anymore?" He's like, "No." And then I turned to him. I said, in California, you're only allowed 10-round magazines. I'm like, "Do you guys happen to sell 30-rounders?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're up front." He goes, "And just to let you know, if you want to get something more than 30 rounds, we have like those 100 drum magazines." And I'm like, I am going to be very happy in Texas. So that was kind of my introduction to gun life in Texas.
That's awesome. And And I'm sure that there was more than just gun rights that brought you from California to Texas, but I think that it is so it's so exciting for us because we are on the national stage, so we talk to everybody constantly, from gun owners in New Jersey and New York to California, and it never gets old, the excitement behind people's story from when they get to own the gun that they dreamed of having but couldn't have in a previous state, or the ability to have standard capacity magazines, or the security that they feel being able to have their freedom restored simply by moving. And that's not saying that if you're in New Jersey or California, you shouldn't be fighting for your Second Amendment rights. Quite the opposite. But it's one of those things where it never gets old when somebody tells their story and you see the excitement on their face. And hopefully it'll be something that we'll all be able to share as hopefully we win our lawsuit, our big, beautiful lawsuit to get rid of the NFA, when we can all go and buy suppressors and SBRs and all the other things that we want as gun owners, and we get to have that capability as well. But it's those moments that never get old for me.
Listen, I learned a lot about California not too long ago, and it's driving me insane just thinking of all the stuff, all the hoops you have to go through. You don't see, that's the thing. Like, as somebody who's lived in a freedom state, so you move from California to a freedom state where you go, going from a freedom state to then learning about California more, because in my mind it's just like, it's California, they do their own thing, like, we'll fight, but they're move to a free state and you get to experience all the awesomeness. But then learning about all the things that actually go on in California, when you start diving in deeper and deeper, like, yeah, you all need to fight.
Being who I am in the industry and the perks that come with that, I'll constantly be sending my friends, like, me shooting full auto and tannerite and all that stuff. Like, all my friends in California, in New York, and Illinois, I'm like, hey guys, look what I did today. And they're like, F you, like, we hate you, you suck, like, I'm like, yeah, well, you guys suck even more because you don't get to play with the toys I get to. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to rub it into.
Let's dive into your author. You became an author. You've written a number of books, a lot of children's books. My personal favorite book has no writing in it at all. So kind of dive in. What made you expand? You talked about why you wrote the book. Why have you expanded the books? How has the reception been from people in and outside of the industry, people in your own community, all around?
So I expanded the books because, again, I've always enjoyed creative writing, and I'm also an ideas person. So if even though my first 5 books were all kids books, if I decide, like, if an idea pops into my mind, like, John, your favorite book, Bullet Points, why would I not run with that? Like, I can expand what I can't even say I can expand what I write, because I didn't write that book. I just compiled. I don't even know if compiled is the right word to say, but published a book like Bullet Points. The idea popped into my head. I'm like, that would be funny. And also, like I said earlier, that you agree with me, our industry takes themselves too seriously. So I decided to not just troll the left and the anti-gunners, I decided to troll the entire industry. And boy, did I do that. So it was just kind of like, I'm an ideas guy. If I think of an idea that I think would be a fun idea to create, and that might throw some money into my pocket, why not do it?
I realize that there are many choices when it comes to who you choose for your cell phone service, and there are new ones popping up all of the time. But here's the truth.
You won't find another cell phone service provider that does more to defend our Second Amendment right to bear arms than Patriot Mobile.
For more than 12 years, Patriot Mobile has been on the front lines fighting for our God-given rights and freedoms, while also providing exceptional nationwide cell phone service with access to all 3 of the main networks. Don't just take my word for it. Ask one of the hundreds of thousands of Americans who have made the switch and are now supporting causes they believe in simply by joining Patriot Mobile.
Switching is easier than ever. Activate in minutes from the comfort of your own home. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade.
Patriot Mobile's all U.S.-based support team is standing by to take care of you. Call 972-PATRIOT today or go to patriotmobile.com/GOA. Use the promo code GOA for a free month of service and 15% off every line. That's patriotmobile.com/GOA or call 972-PATRIOT. And make the switch today. It is time for our segment, my personal favorite segment, which is From the Soapbox, the time that we take a spicier take on what is happening in the world and gun culture and really just about anything. And so I'm going to throw it over to you, Yehuda. What is your spicy take?
Yeah, 100%. People always ask me what my favorite gun company is. Not what my favorite gun is, but what my favorite gun company is. And they look at me like I'm fresh off the boat, like maybe right out of the mental institution when I say my favorite gun company is High Point. They look at me like I'm insane, and I tell them straight out, I said, you find another company that really knows its place, understands the guns they sell, and are insanely successful at it, all the while joking about who they are with everybody else in the industry. Right? High Point is the only company that is willing to joke about themselves because they are so secure in what they do and their guns and who they sell their guns to that they don't take themselves seriously. And I freaking love High Point for that.
Dave, if you're watching, we love you. Yes. No, I 100% agree. High Point is the one. The people over at High Point are fantastic.
Yes.
Kara and Dave and Charlie and everybody over there are just fantastic human beings to talk to and work with. And if you haven't done so, I'm doing a plug right now because I can. If you haven't done so, go buy your GOA High Point carbine. They're for sale. There's 3 models. There's the 9mm, the 45, and the 10mm. There is no tax on them and free shipping. Go to a linky somewhere because I can't say it here. Brandon, editors, mute this part on YouTube. Go to shootammo.com to go get your GOA High Point. So I'm going to plug it away. It's got to be muted on YouTube because YouTube is mean to us if we say websites. No, I 100% agree. There's a lot of the only other company that I would applaud, and unfortunately they're no longer with us. Sounds like they died, but the company's not, is Anderson. Anderson was the same way.
Yeah.
Know, they're built for the everyman. And I think that is an issue, and it's, I don't say it's getting better, but it seems, depending on who you talk to, it's getting better. But there's a lot of the legacy companies who will, depending on who you talk to from that company, it's a lot like, well, we're this, and this is why we do this, because we're this. Or they're very, if you try to be lighthearted with them or something, well, we don't like that. We're as High Point, they know exactly who they are. There's a lot of companies out there who know exactly who they are and want to have fun. And I think that's a point that I'd like to pass on to all these companies and industry people who may be listening is you need to have fun and make fun of yourselves every once in a while. And one of my favorite make fun of themselves and kind of do a meme that there's a couple ones that they did a meme that turned into something. Stephanie over at Springfield did a cow print gun for April Fools and did not get approval for it. And it turned into a meme, and they actually made it because people wanted it. And the other one was Langdon Tactical, who's a sponsor of the show, made a meme of a optics cut on one of the Beretta 32 tip barrels, and that turned into a gun. So you got to have fun. You can't always be serious, because if you're always serious, you're just pushing away certain people in the community, because again, guns are serious. They can be dangerous if not treated properly, but also they're fun. You need to have fun with it. That's my point.
Well, I'll tell you, I have been working on the high point, and John, maybe you can push it home. But I have been trying so hard to get High Point to do a yeet cannon with me, a collaboration, like a PewPewJew yeet cannon, and it would come a suppressed barrel and then a normal barrel, and we would call it, because I'm Jewish, the circumcised and the uncircumcised.
I love that.
Which I think would sell so well.
What I need is somebody. I brought this up to another company, and they told me no, and I brought it up to Dave, and Dave thought it was hilarious. We need somebody to make a purple yeet cannon holster and call it the Purple Yeeter Eater.
Oh, I can get someone to do that.
Yeah, you think about it. It's the Purple Yeeter Eater. What do you put in it? Your yeet cannon. It's eating it. It's a holster. The Purple Yeeter Eater. I'm free idea to anybody out there who's a holster company. But again, see, that's the whole point. We could have fun with it. And Kailey is over here dying of laughter. She's like, what? But like, that's the thing. Like, you can have fun with it. Like, speaking of fun,
John, just quickly. Yeah, you remember what I walk around with at SHOT Show?
Yes, I was just going to bring that up.
I have a bagel holster because all Jews need bagels. I literally walk around SHOT Show with a bagel holster. And the looks I get, it's fun. You need to not take yourself so seriously and I mean, let's be honest. We work in the coolest industry in the world. Where else do you get to hang out with people who are, patriots, like-minded individuals about freedom, like-minded individuals about guns? We get to shoot guns for a living and talk about guns for a living. Like, why are you taking yourself so seriously? Have fun with it. Roll with it.
Well, and that brings up a great point, because there was a point about 6 or 7 months ago. I was at a range day, and somebody walked up. I was walking by a booth, and someone's like, "Oh, come and shoot my MP5 full auto." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." And they're like, "What do you mean? Like, it's a full auto MP5? That's fun." I'm like, "Well, I've only done it like 400 times. Let somebody else do it, because they'll have." And he's like, "I'll give you a full mag." And there was somebody like behind me who's like, "Oh, I've never shot a full auto MP5." I'm like, "Here, take my full mag. Like, go up and have fun." Like, because it sounds pretentious that like I don't want to shoot a full auto, but like I've done it so many times now, and I've had so much fun. Like, it's time for somebody else to do it, to have fun besides me. I know that's going to sound really weird, that like, what is wrong with you? You're turning down a full auto MP5. But as I've been doing this for so long and been shooting so much, like, there are only certain guns now that are full auto that get me super excited. Like P90, MP7, anything World War II full auto. Like, that gets me excited. Like, weird things I haven't shot yet that are full auto that get me excited. But now I see it. Like, I can pass that on to somebody else and be like, "Oh, you haven't done this." Like, if you're gonna give it to me because we're friends, I appreciate it. But let me give it to the next guy who's been waiting in line, who's super excited. And I know that sounds jaded, and people are gonna be like, "Wow, you're weird." But it's just, as you keep going, like, people have been like, "What are you doing? You go to all these events? Like, you gotta have fun." "Oh yeah, they're fun. They're great." "Well, you shot a full auto MP5. Well, I've only done it like 100 times now, or 70 times. Like, and it's weird from my end now, as because I've been in doing this so long, that I turn stuff away. But at the same time, like, I pass it on to the next person. Or if it's something like HK, the one time had like they had a P7 and a VP70 at their booth, and I wanted to shoot their old stuff, and the guy looked at me like, "You don't want to shoot all our new stuff?" I'm like, "No, those are cool to me because they're old, and I haven't shot that yet."
Well, I'll tell you, for my 40th birthday 2 years ago, the range that I frequent, that I use as my home range, is a small hole in the wall range called Mr. Guns out here in Plano, Texas, and it's a mom and pop range. It's awesome, but they have a bunch of full autos you can rent. So for my 40th birthday, they called me up. They're like, hey, come to the range. We have something for you. And they take me into the range, and I'm not lying. They had 2 fully auto Uzis with full mags. And for my as a birthday present, they let me shoot dual wielding 2 Uzis, full auto. And I'm like, that is like the greatest birthday present. And like, I have a friend who called me, he's like, hey man, I just shot a Uzi. I'm like, yeah, big deal. I shot 2 at once, like, yeah, like who cares, right? Like, big deal. Good for you. You shot a fully auto Uzi. So I don't know. I think I like what you're saying, John. I like the idea of like, yeah, we've done it so many times. I've shot so many full auto. I mean, I've shot a Ma Deuce suppressed. Like, who does that? Like, no one shoots a full auto, fully auto Ma Deuce suppressed. So it's like, just pass it on to the next guy. Let someone else have that fun. We been there, done that. I mean, I'm going to Vegas tomorrow for a huge range day on Thursday. So I'm like, I don't know what they're going to have there, but
Say hi to Matt while you're there, because Matt will be there.
Okay.
Here's where I really, this is what get me. So we have a girl who works for us. I won't say her name because I don't want to call people out, but we were at the gathering and we were talking to Barrett, and they're like, do you want to shoot a mile? I'm like, well, I've shot a mile already, but yeah, I'll hop on the gun and shoot a mile. She hadn't shot more than like 100 yards or 300 yards or whatever she qualified on in the military. And she's like, okay, I'm going to shoot the mile. She shot the mile, hit the target. She still talks about it to this day. She's like, I hit the mile. And she'll bring it up to people around us like, I hit the mile. Have you hit a mile? They're like, no. She's like, I did. And it is, because those are experiences that, you go to range day, you shoot at 15 feet, or 20 feet or whatever it is, depending on what it is, or you shoot a full auto. Like, those little experiences, like shooting the mile and doing that, like, those are things that you go around and talk to people about, and you're like, yeah, I hit a mile, or yeah, I did this. And it's so funny now that I'm like, I'm more happy for her than I was for myself, because I was like, yeah, I did it again, whoop. And then she's super excited. I'm like, yeah, you did it, woo. Like, I'm more, that's where I'm at.
It all goes back to what we started at the beginning of this conversation in, and that's this: taking someone to the range is always going to be the best on-ramp to get them interested, involved, and ready to take the next step. And the more opportunities that you have that you're able to pass on to somebody, the better off the community is. It's how we build momentum for things. It's how we build momentum so that we can hopefully get the NFA, it's how we get momentum. Sorry, editors again. It's how we get momentum so that we can fight things like the NFA, so that we can have suppressors, so that we can have SBRs, so we can have SBSs, so that we can have these things more readily available, because as more and more people realize how awesome it is to shoot these things, then the more they're willing to go out and buy them, and they're going to bring a new group. And that's how we continue to spread the Second Amendment. And so it's awesome that you were able to give that individual who called me, by the way, after that shot, the opportunity to shoot the mile, because that was an experience, something that she's going to carry on. And guess what? The next time that she has the opportunity, she's going to be looking for the next person in line to give that opportunity to as well. And that's how we sharpen our skills. That's how we recommend trainers. That's how we recommend firearms. It's how so many people get into the community, is because somebody has had the experience and is willing to pass the baton on to the next person. And it's why we can say firmly that as long as we as a Second Amendment community are open and willing to go into and have conversations with people who might be anti-gun or politically agnostic, or just, what are you talking about? Maybe gun interested or gun aware, but not active, involved, we can truly change hearts and minds. And it's simple and it goes back to basics. And I think that's why it works. I think that's why we constantly find ourselves wanting to participate in events, is because we're looking for how to get the next group of people involved. And that's important.
Also, whatever you do, don't shoot long range because it's addicting and you'll get addicted and want to do it more and more and more.
I think that's why you should, actually. I think that's
expensive.
Yes, but I think that's a feature, not a bug.
Have you shot long range yet, Yehuda?
No, not really. I mean, I've shot, precision rifles, but I haven't really gotten into the long range shooting. It's on my bucket list to do the mile shot. I have not done that. So I need to find someone and make a trip out to someone where, they'll do it with me, because that's something on the bucket list.
It is one of those things when you hit, the dopamine hit is so strong that you want to do it over and over again. I took one long range class and now I have my long range set up, and I've done more and more because I can go out where I'm at now. We can go out to about 1,000. So I'll shoot at 1,000. And at first 1,000 sounds like this big number, but now when you're out there and you fire the shot and about like 4 or 5 seconds later, you hear a ding. You're like, yes.
We are getting the wrap up sign. So, Farner, would you like to do the gift for our guest?
Yes. As a thank you for being on our show, AAC and Palmetto State Armory is sponsored our gift for our guest this season. So you'll be receiving an email to get that gift for our guest over to you.
Sweet. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Awesome. And where can everyone find you? Where can they purchase your books? All of that good stuff.
So everyone can find me across social media at the PewPewJew. Don't forget a lot of people do. And you can purchase not just my books, but a lot of my merchandise you can purchase a lot of my merchandise at thepewpewjew.com.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of the State of the Second podcast. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a 5-star review on the podcasting platforms. And don't forget to reserve your tickets to the Gun Owners Advocacy and Leadership Summit that is Goals August 1st and 2nd in Des Moines, Iowa. You will not want to miss our 50th anniversary celebration. You can grab your tickets at goals.gunowners.org, and we will see you here next week.